The train that never waited. Every morning at exactly 7 a.m., a train left the small town of Ashford for the busy city beyond the mountains. People called it the Opportunity Express because it carried students chasing education, workers pursuing careers, and dreamers searching for a better life. Among the passengers was a 26-year-old man named Noah. For 3 years, Noah had stood on the station platform every morning, watching the train leave without him. Not because he couldn't buy a ticket, not because he was late, but because he was afraid. Afraid of leaving his comfort zone. Afraid of failing in a city where nobody knew him. Afraid that his dream of becoming a writer would never come true. So every morning he told himself the same lie. Maybe tomorrow. And every morning, the train disappeared into the distance. One rainy afternoon, Noah met an elderly woman sitting alone on a bench at the station. She carried only a small suitcase and an old notebook tied together with a blue ribbon. "You've been watching this train for a long time," she said with a gentle smile. Noah looked surprised. "You've noticed?" She nodded. "I've noticed for 3 years." Noah laughed awkwardly. "I guess I'm waiting for the right moment." The woman smiled. "The right moment rarely arrives. It is usually created." Before Noah could answer, the train arrived with its familiar whistle. Passengers hurried aboard. Within minutes, it disappeared once again. Noah sighed. "I missed it." The old woman looked at him. "No. You chose not to catch it." Those words stayed with Noah long after she had gone. The following morning, he returned to the station as usual. The elderly woman was waiting. This time she handed him the blue notebook. "Open it." Inside were dozens of handwritten stories. Some were only 1 page. Others filled entire chapters. Every story ended differently. Confused, Noah looked at her. "Did you write these?" She smiled. "No. They were written by people who once stood exactly where you're standing now." She turned another page. "This story belongs to a man who wanted to become a teacher." Another page. "This one belongs to a woman who dreamed of opening a bakery." Another page. "This one belongs to a young musician." Noah noticed something unusual. Every story began with fear. Every story included failure. Every story also ended with hope. How did they all succeed? Noah asked. The woman shook her head. "They didn't." Noah looked confused. "What do you mean?" "They succeeded in beginning. The rest of their journey was simply the result of refusing to stop." She closed the notebook. People often believe successful lives are built by extraordinary moments. They're not. They're built by ordinary days when someone chooses courage instead of comfort. For the first time, Noah wondered if fear had become his home. That evening, he returned to his apartment and opened a drawer filled with unfinished manuscripts. Stories he had started. Stories he had abandoned. Dreams covered in dust. He stayed awake until midnight reading every page. Some were terrible. Some showed promise. But all of them had one thing in common. None had ever been finished. The next morning, Noah arrived at the station earlier than ever before. The train arrived. Its doors opened. His heart pounded. His hands trembled. He stepped forward. Then stopped. "What if I fail?" he whispered. A familiar voice answered behind him. "What if you don't?" It was the elderly woman. She smiled. "Failure is painful. But regret lasts much longer." The conductor called, "Last boarding." Passengers hurried inside. Noah looked at the train. Then at the notebook. Then back at the train. For the first time in 3 years. He climbed aboard. As the train slowly pulled away from the station, Noah watched his hometown disappear through the window. He wasn't leaving his past behind. He was carrying it with him. Because every lesson, every mistake, and every disappointment had prepared him for this journey. The city wasn't easy. His first manuscript was rejected. Then his second. Then his third. Editors told him his stories weren't good enough. Friends suggested he find a real job. There were nights when Noah questioned everything. But every time he wanted to quit, he opened the blue notebook. Inside the front cover was a sentence he had somehow missed before. Dreams are not destroyed by failure. They are destroyed by surrender. Those words became his compass. Instead of giving up, Noah kept writing. Every rejection became a lesson. Every mistake became experience. Every setback became motivation. 5 years later, Noah published his first novel. It wasn't an overnight success. It didn't make him rich. But something far more valuable happened. Thousands of readers wrote to tell him that his story had inspired them to chase their own dreams. One autumn afternoon, Noah returned to Ashford Station carrying a copy of his book. The old woman was nowhere to be found. He asked the station master about her. The old man smiled. She passed away 2 years ago. Before Noah could respond, the station master handed him another blue notebook. She asked me to give you this when you came back. Inside the first page was a handwritten message. Dear Noah, if you're reading this, you finally boarded your train. I'm proud of you. Remember, every station in life is filled with people waiting for permission to begin. Be the person who reminds them that the train never waits forever. One day, hand this notebook to someone who has forgotten their dream. Noah closed the notebook with tears in his eyes. That evening, while waiting for his train home, he noticed a teenage girl sitting alone on the station bench, holding a folder marked Art School application. She looked frightened. She looked uncertain. She looked exactly as Noah had looked years before. Without saying a word, he placed the blue notebook beside her. As the train whistle echoed across the station, Noah smiled. Because he finally understood something that had taken him years to learn. Opportunities don't disappear because time runs out. They disappear because fear convinces us to stand still. And sometimes, the greatest journey of your life begins with the simple courage to step onto the train before it leaves the station.